Rabbi David Singer, would you be kind enough to start us off by giving a picture of the current state of health of the Jewish community in Northern Ireland?
The current state of the Jewish community in Northern Ireland in general, approximately some 350 Jewish people here in Northern Ireland, most of them centred here in Belfast. Excuse me. Here in Belfast, we have approximately, let's say, about 90 members of the synagogue community. They're scattered a little bit, some in North Belfast and some in South Belfast.
Numerically quite low. Is that a disappointment for you, or have you a confidence that can build?
Is it a disappointment? No, because that was what I was told at the beginning. In fact, I was told there were fewer than that. I was told there were approximately 80 people, but like I say, since I've been here over the past 12 months, yes, we've had new members, people coming to join the community, and actually people moving to Belfast from across the water from England.
Yes.
Not disappointed.
Yeah. You're there, you've come among us. With what task were you required to take with you?
The task is really two things. Number one, to look after the spiritual needs of the Jewish community here, and that's quite varied, from synagogue prayer needs to, I suppose, really social needs as well. So that we look after, and also I have quite a bit of what I call ambassadorial work to do as I represent the Jewish community to the larger community, both in Belfast and generally in Northern Ireland.
We understand, I think, the other community, the larger community in Northern Ireland, we understand relatively little about your faith, and that's part of your ambassadorial role.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you actually give effect to that role?
Two things. We have, on very many occasions, we give guided tours around the synagogue to church groups, to school groups, even scouts and other organizations that have, Boys Brigade, that have also come and asked to see the synagogue and hear a little bit about Judaism. That's one way. And another way is meetings that I've had either in groups or on an individual basis with other faith leaders, and a good exchange of ideas.
Are you open to converts? Do you proselytize at all?
No, Judaism doesn't look at all to proselytize. However, there are people who have expressed an interest in becoming Jewish. It's a difficult process. It's a long process. It needs a huge commitment on behalf of the person. But no, in the main, we're definitely not a proselytizing religion. But there are people that, for whatever reason, wish to convert.
Are you? I'm bound to ask, if you're not proselytizing, are you an elitist religion?
Oh, certainly not. No. Elitist sounds very bad. People that are born Jewish and practice the religion believe in it, and their belief in God is expressed in the way that is set out in the Bible. The whole ethos of Judaism is as it's set out in the Bible. When I refer to the Bible, I'm referring to the Old Testament.
Of course.
No, it's not elitist. It's monotheistic,
yes.
as are other branches of Christianity, for instance, and things like that.
I know that the folk walking past my studio window at the moment, Newry's Catholics and Newry's Protestants, they may not readily understand the core spiritualism of Judaism. Is it possible to give them a pen picture of that?
Little difficult in a few sentences in the scope of a short program. But like I say, the ethos of Judaism is all based on what is brought down in the Bible. And again, I repeat, the Bible for us is the Old Testament. So since the time of Abraham, the religion has developed. The Ten Commandments were given, and there are 613 commandments in the written Bible. And we adhere to them as much as possible, not just in prayer, but also in daily practice as well. Dietary laws, for example, are very important to us.
Mm-hmm. Are you still praying for, looking forward to, the coming of the Messiah?
Oh, certainly, yes. Yes, one of the, as expressed by a great rabbi in the 1500s, Maimonides, he wrote as a guiding light for principles of faith, that we believe even though he may tarry in the coming of the Messiah.
Yes, and the Messiah still is elusive. What are the circumstances, do you feel, that will exist in humanity upon earth in order to encourage that presence to come?
One of the teachings in the Talmud is that the Messiah will either come to a generation which is totally righteous, or to a generation which is totally not righteous. Two very, very difficult concepts to understand. Obviously, we can say if the generation was 100% righteous, then obviously the Messiah would come. And if the generation was so totally unworthy, then obviously the saving that the nations need will need to be brought about in a different way. But the complicated question is, what can we do about it? We can learn to get on with our fellow man, and that will breed peace, will breed understanding, will breed tolerance. Those would be circumstances when it would be ripe for the Messiah to come.
Peace, you refer to it there, and that takes me to Israel and to Gaza and things like that. It must constantly break your heart that there is that conflict.
Yes, it certainly does. Certainly does. Yes, it's a constant source of worry, and really, I suppose it encourages us to pray even harder for a peaceful solution to the conflict. Not just the conflict in the Middle East, but the conflict in general, and especially, I suppose, really in Israel.
David, may I ask you of your own background, please? Whence have you come?
Yes. I was actually born and brought up in Birmingham, and at the age of 19, I carried on began my rabbinic studies in London, and in 1973, I then went to various Talmudic academies in Israel, where I eventually got married, and I've been there for the last approximately 37 years.
Yeah, it's a bit of a come down to come back from Israel to Northern Ireland, is it?
A come down? No, not a come down. It's a moving across.
A moving across.
It's a come down as far as the weather's concerned.
Absolutely, that's precisely what I was thinking of, because I always have this beautiful image of the lifestyle of the kibbutz.
Well, yes. Maybe once upon a time it was more idyllic than it is now. A lot of people choose to live, actually not so much in kibbutz or moshav, but to live in towns. Kibbutz life isn't for everybody, but yes, it's different. We actually lived in Jerusalem, so we're town people.
Tell me about Jerusalem. Paint me a picture of the Jerusalem that you love.
A beautiful, beautiful mix of old, ancient, new, modern, religious, secular, multicultural, multi-religious, and a beautiful atmosphere that is different from other urban cities of Israel, Tel Aviv and Haifa and places like that. There's a sort of, what can I say? Kissed
by God?
That's a nice way of putting it. I don't know whether I could have thought of that expression, but there is certainly an atmosphere about Jerusalem, I think, for all those reasons that I've just mentioned. It is such a varied, like I say, the old and the new, the religious and the secular, and everything like that.
Beautiful.
All mixed together.
May I ask you, Rabbi David, what to Jewish people is Christ?
I've been asked this question very often, and one of my answers is that he was a Jewish man who taught Talmud, and either he or his followers purported him to be the Messiah. And in the Jewish religion, that was not accepted. It was not accepted by the men of the Great Assembly of the time. And a Jewish man, born, died, and taught Bible, taught Talmud. That's what he was.
Why do you think his Jewish brethren killed him?
Look, that's a very, very difficult question. I'm not so sure that it was his Jewish brethren that killed him. He was certainly brought before the Sanhedrin, before the court of the Great Assembly, to answer about statements that he might have made, claims that he made, maybe being a Messiah. But as far as his actual execution was concerned, or putting up on the cross, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually a Roman decision.
A Roman decision,
political
indeed,
decision.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, a difficult time. Now, I suppose it's important to ask you something that we all want to forget, but in forgetting, we may let slip the determination to ensure that no Holocaust will ever occur again.
Yeah.
This far down the road from the awfulness, what does your heart tell you about it and about humanity?
That was nicely expressed. My heart tells me that it is really important that man in general should learn lessons from such atrocities. And they weren't atrocities that were committed only against Jewish people. They were atrocities that were committed against anybody that didn't seem to meet with the ethos of the Nazi regime. And what's important is to learn the lessons that those were really man's inhumanity to man. And if we were talking earlier on about the coming of the Messiah, the quicker we learn to correct those ideologies, and the quicker and easier we learn to understand each other, to get on with each other, to appreciate that people are different, and accept that people are different. And we need to look forward. Looking back is only to learn in order to look forward to get on better with each other.
In getting on better with each other in that quest, the command, love the Lord thy God and your neighbor as yourself, this is the greatest commandment. Where do you stand on that as a guiding principle for your life?
To love the Lord is number one, and to get on with my fellow man is, I would say, an equal number one. I think one of the ways to manifest loving God is to love the creatures that He created, and that's us. Us in mankind in the widest sense possible. That is the job that He gave us to do, and that's what we need to concentrate on.
And David, if we were doing that, we would be speeding along the road towards the coming of the Messiah, in your terms.
Well, absolutely. So just because the Messiah hasn't come shouldn't excuse us from hoping and praying that He will come, and doing things about it by promoting goodwill, understanding.
I suppose we could finally ask you what I ask every person who comes to me of a religious background, who profess a faith in God. How do you know, what makes you, David Singer, sure that there is a God?
My faith, right, in the whole being of this universe, that is where it is. That is where it's focused at, and so from that, and for many years, the people have been telling the story of the creation in exactly the same way, and the development of man, and the spreading of the word of God. It's not possible that so many hundreds of millions of people could be telling the same story that would be untrue.
I'm asking really out of a search for assurance for myself.
Well, I can't give you assurances. I can tell you what I believe in, and you see the sunrise in the morning and the sunset in the evening, and the whole of creation, and you look at the most minute thing of creation, and you think to yourself, how wonderful this is. This isn't something that man can do. This is something that has evolved, and there is most definitely a greater being than us who is in control of absolutely everything.
Rabbi David Singer, thank you very, very much indeed for talking with me this morning.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all well.
Thank you.